Hook. What if I told you that in 1943, the U.S. Navy made an entire warship vanish and accidentally sent its crew into another dimension? This is the story of the Philadelphia experiment, and the truth is stranger than any science fiction. Intro. Welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the most persistent and bizarre conspiracy theories of the 20th century, the Philadelphia experiment. According to legend, on October 28, 1943, the USS Eldridge, a Cannon-class destroyer escort, was rendered completely invisible using powerful electromagnetic fields. Some say the ship not only disappeared from Philadelphia, but was teleported over 200 miles to Norfolk, Virginia. And when the crew returned, well, things got terrifying. We're going to explore where this story came from, what the Navy actually says, and why this conspiracy refuses to die nearly a century later. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our deep dives into history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Segment 1. The story traces back to one man, Carlos Miguel Allende, also known as Carl Allen. In 1955, Allende wrote a series of strange letters to astronomer and ufologist Morris K. Jessup. Jessup had just published a book called The Case for the UFO, and Allende's letters claimed knowledge of a secret Navy experiment that made the USS Eldridge disappear. Allende described the experiment with eerie detail. He said he witnessed the ship become enveloped in a greenish fog, vanish from sight, and reappear in Norfolk, Virginia, hundreds of miles away. He claimed crew members were fused with the ship's hull, went insane, or simply vanished into thin air. The letters were written in multiple colors of ink, with random capitalization and a frantic tone that made them seem either incredibly important or completely unhinged. Nonetheless, Jessup took them seriously enough to bring them to the attention of the Office of Naval Research. Segment 2. The core of the Philadelphia experiment involves something called unified field theory, a concept associated with Albert Einstein. According to believers, the Navy was attempting to use intense electromagnetic fields to bend light around the USS Eldridge, making it invisible to radar and to the naked eye. The theory draws on Einstein's earlier work on unified field theory, which attempted to unite electromagnetism and gravity into a single framework. Conspiracy theorists claim the Navy successfully generated a powerful magnetic field that did more than hide the ship, it literally warped spacetime. But here's where things get interesting. Einstein did meet with the Navy in the early 1940s. The Navy confirms he worked on magnetic field theory and that degaussing, a technique to make ships less detectable by magnetic mines, was standard practice. So there's a kernel of truth. The question is just how far that truth extends. Segment 3. The Navy's official position is straightforward: the Philadelphia experiment never happened. The Office of Naval Research has repeatedly stated that no scientific principles were discovered or employed that could render a ship invisible. They say the USS Eldridge was never in Philadelphia in October 1943, it was actually in the New York Navy Yard undergoing sea trials. But skeptics point out some interesting holes. The ship's deck log for October 28, 1943, has been difficult to verify. Some researchers claim pages are missing. Others point out that the USS Eldridge's crew members, when interviewed years later, gave conflicting accounts. One former crew member said he was on the ship during the time it supposedly vanished and remembers nothing unusual. Another said the crew was sworn to secrecy. And then there's the Varo edition, a republished version of Jessup's book with Allende's annotations that the Navy printed for internal study. Why would the Navy take a crackpot theory seriously enough to publish it in an annotated edition? Segment 4. Let's talk about the human cost. The most disturbing part of the Philadelphia experiment story is what supposedly happened to the crew. Witness accounts described sailors who returned from the experiment disoriented and sick. Some were said to have been embedded in the ship's metal bulkheads. Others reportedly suffered from severe burns, mental instability, and what witnesses described as spontaneous combustion, bursting into flames long after the experiment was over. One particularly gruesome account claims crew members could walk through walls but couldn't control their own limbs. While modern science dismisses these claims as pure fiction, the story persists because it taps into a deep human fear that technology can go terribly wrong, and that the people in charge will cover it up. Whether you believe the details or not, the Philadelphia experiment has become a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of scientific progress without ethical boundaries. OUTRO. So was the Philadelphia experiment real? The evidence is shaky at best. All of it traces back to a single, possibly unstable witness whose story changed over time. The Navy denies it. The ship's records contradict key claims. And the physics of invisibility and teleportation still remain firmly in the realm of science fiction. But here's why this story matters: it reveals something about how we think about secrecy, government power, and the limits of science. The Philadelphia experiment lives on not because it's true, but because it feels like it should be true. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We've got a whole library of history's greatest mysteries waiting for you. Next time we're unlocking another secret the establishment doesn't want you to know about.